Guys ready in the back there? Hit the CD. Go.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living here in beautiful San Clemente. We're so glad you're here with us this beautiful Sunday morning. And we'd like you to join us in our first sing along song, Karen Drucker's song called What Is Mine to Give?
Mine.
Mine. It's mine. It's mine. And here we are.
What is mine to give? What is mine to do? All I want is to share with somebody. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? Give it to you. Mine to give. What is mine to do? All I want is to share with somebody. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? Give it to you. What is mine to give? All I want is to share something with you. So I stand here asking, oh, what can I do? What is mine to give? Give it to you. What is mine to give? Give it to you.
All right, and I'd like to introduce our musicians this morning. We have our regular, fabulous, wonderful band. We have on guitar Ed Pesby, on bass Bill Dixon, on drums David Page. I'm Diane King Dan here at the keys. Our song leaders are the wonderful Wade and Kimberly Woldridge, and our soloist is our beloved Gina Walker. So happy to have her always here with us to rock and roll this morning. And that's your turn to stand on up, stretch your legs, and join us for one more sing-along song called, what is it? We are the world.
We are the world.
Children.
We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones that make the brighter days. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true to make better days, just you and me. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones to make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true to make better days, just you and me.
And now it's time to go meet greet your neighbor. We have Bill. And work your way on back to your seats because we have more singing to do, folks. And here we are.
We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones that make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true to make better days, just you and me. True to make better days, just you and me. It's true to make better days, just you and me.
Settle down. I'm really excited this morning. We got a lot of things happening. Anyway, my name is Arpad Petros. I'm the minister here, and I want to welcome you to the Center for Spiritual Living, Capistrano Valley, your spiritual home. And it doesn't matter if you're the first time here, because we've got a big surprise for you. No matter if you're here the second time or 100 times or 1,000 times. It's all going to be new. And wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Doesn't matter if you're up here, still a journey. All right. So this morning, I'm going to start with the flames of faith. I'm going to read those flames. It helps us center ourselves a little bit, and it helps us acknowledge the rest of the world, the consciousness, the rest of the thinking happens on the planet. Still, perform this ceremony. Promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. We light the candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and the practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the candle for Judaism, honoring the eternal path of living by sacred law. We light the candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of compliance with the will of God as the highest calling. We light the candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And as Joe lights the last candle, let it represent the path that brought you here this morning. If you would join me in the prayer for meditation, centering, or whatever word you want to use, just to close your mind down just for a minute. Just leave it outside. Connect with your heart, connect with your soul, connect with your higher being. Just know with me that there is only one consciousness, there's only one light, one love. Spirit only speaks one language. Always only knows how to say. It says to you, my beloved, one, holy, you are sacred. In the Omega, make some different thoughts, power, prayer, transform this planet, your consciousness, eternal, and only speak one. Morning. So it is. So it is. And Aiden will now read the affirmation.
Don't fall asleep. Very brief. Don't get distracted. So I'll say it once and we'll repeat it again. A new light is coming into the world. So it is.
Thank you, Aiden. Short but sweet. And please welcome our singer today, Ms. Gina Walker.
Good morning. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm taking my freedom, pulling it off the shelf, putting it around my chain, wearing it around my neck. I'm taking my freedom, putting it in my car. Wherever I choose to go, it will take me far. I'm living my life like it's golden, living my life like it's golden, living my life like it's golden, living my life like it's golden. Golden, living my life like it's 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 golden. Golden, I'm taking my freedom, I'm putting it in a song, singing loud and strong, moving all day long. I'm taking my freedom, putting it in my stroll. I'll be hustling, y'all. Let the joy of God. I'm living my life like it's golden. Living my life like it's golden. Come on, right here. I'm living my life like it's golden. 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 Golden. Holding on to my freedom. Can't take it from me. I was born into it. It comes naturally. I'm trying my own freedom. Playing the God in me. Representing mystery. Living my life like it's golden. Living my life like it's golden. Living my life like it's golden. Golden, 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 golden. Are you living your life like it's golden? Golden, golden. Living, 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 living my life like golden. I'm living my life like it's golden. Living my life like it's golden. Golden. Yeah. Living my life like it's golden. Living my life like it's golden. Living my life like it's
Thank you, Gino. Gino Walker.
Man, that girl can sing. Woo! Yeah. All right. Here's your special treat. Here's your special surprise. We have a speaker. Kind of shy. He's a somebody. He has connections. He knows celebrities. She's in social media. I'm going to read you this so you kind of get a sense of what's going on. Afterwards, she will be doing a workshop, a 1 hour, 15-minute workshop, love offering basis. So if you are connected, better be here. Okay. Rachel L. Cook has been actively involved in teaching and coaching spiritual psychology, clinical hypnosis, other transformational methods to celebrity coaches as well as celebrity clients for 10 years. Rochelle is a media favorite, popular thought leader, and often quoted for her expertise in magazines, newspapers, radio, and most recently, Oprah's own network in The Deep Shift by Janos Elrod. CNN journalist, television presenter, and author Lisa Ling. I love that show. Where is it? Author and psychologist Susan Forward and Gary Renard, best-selling author of The Disappearance of the Universe trilogy, have endorsed Rochelle's book. Rochelle Cook will guide the reader on how the subconscious controls one's life. That making the subconscious conscious is the way to heal, live a peaceful, joyful, and successful life. Okay, so did I do a good job introducing you? Please welcome Rochelle L. Cook.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You do have a really good voice. I was even rocking out. I gotta learn what you have. Okay. I have to say, everybody's so nice here. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to Art for your kindness. So a couple of questions here. How many of you have ever struggled, ever at all? Ever? In a relationship? I should see 2 hands from everybody. Sister, brother, child, dog, cat, family, job. How many of you think that maybe, just perhaps, you could learn to communicate better? Even with life. I mean, you know, communication with life is pretty important, which is why you're here. According to YourTango.com, who pulled 100 mental health professionals, over 65% of marriages fail because they cannot communicate. And this doesn't include the clients that walk into my office that are very young. They're not married. They're not living together. They have no intention of doing that at this point, but they come to me because they have these relationships and they want to stay together. They cannot communicate. It's a big number. I know from my own personal experience that you cannot communicate with anybody until you learn how to communicate with yourself first. And all that means is that you're comfortable in your own skin and that you really love yourself, like really understand what that means. And you understand what your boundaries are, because they're real. And what it means is that, and this is really a big subject that I could do a whole workshop on, but what it means is that you're not pointing the finger, playing the blame game at your partner or even life. Why me? It means that you're pointing the finger right back at yourself. I write about this in my book. And you say to yourself, I'm upset because Nobody can disturb your peace unless you allow them to. This is what I do and teach to help my clients. Like I said, it's a really big subject. Now, there are a lot of people that have a wonderful relationship, and I love when I see this. But you can still have relationships. I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but fear, stress, anxiety. A lot of people say, why me? It's because of the relationship you have with yourself. You attract, we all know this, what it is you need to heal. Job, children, life, whatever it is. There's a quote by some people that I studied under in spiritual psychology, Drs. Ron Holnick and Mary Holnick, Dr. Mary Holnick. How you relate to yourself as you're going through the issue is the issue. The big one. We all have to take personal responsibility how we view the world in our life, no matter what it is. So what I want to do quickly is a little exercise with you that I think you might have fun with. And what I'd like you to do is everybody hold your hands out like this, hands and arms, and keep your hands out and close your eyes. Keep your hands out and close your eyes. Try to keep your hands out stiff. No bending elbows if you can help it, So what I'd like you to do is take a deep breath. Just relax, allow your shoulders to drop. And you may notice that on your right hand, there's a string tied to your wrist. And that string, close your eyes, that string has 5 big, huge balloons tied to it. And those balloons are tugging and pulling and pulling and tugging and tugging and pulling and pulling and tugging up into the sky. Those balloons are red, blue, yellow, pink, purple. They're huge. They're full of helium. Those balloons are going up higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. It's like when you give a child a balloon and they let it go and the balloon goes up into the sky, they usually start crying. But they look straight up and you see their heads kind of go back looking at that balloon, taking their arm right with it. In the other hand, you have a big, huge, heavy bag of cement. Oh, it's so heavy. It's like 50 pounds. Oh my God. It's so heavy. Your arm hurts just lifting it. And that cement bag is so very heavy. It's heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. It is so heavy that you have to kind of let it go. Oh, and there's that balloon going way up. Oh, it's like a helium balloon. It's like those balloons people get into and have wine and cheese and goes way up into the sky. Everybody keep your hands where they are and open your eyes. Aha. This exercise demonstrates, you can put your hands down now, how powerful the mind is. You just believed. There was a balloon here and a bag of cement here, and I don't see any balloons in the room. I don't see any cement either. Some of us choose to put cement on our shoulders and carry the weight of the world, but we can let that go whenever we'd like. One of the ways to do it is just take a deep breath. As I grew up, I believed that I was unworthy. And I used to think, I'm not good enough. Nobody wants me. If somebody leaves me, I'm in big trouble. Story of my life. I write about it in my book. Not anymore. But it was pretty serious. Serious stuff. And I kept attracting difficult relationships. And I kept doing it until I understood what was the problem and I fixed it. Your outer reality is a reflection of your inner reality. I had to learn how to change my story at the subconscious level, which I'll get into in a minute. We humans, we take our past, we project it into the future, and it becomes our here and now. So if you had a past that wasn't so hot, it could be around relationships, it could be about money. Some people have told me that their parents say, oh, that's a lot of money. Very few people make that kind of money. It could be around relationships. That's a big conversation. You weren't treated well. Maybe one person said one thing to you that you never forget. And what you do is you take your past experiences, even as an adult, something can happen as an adult, and boy, you remember it, and you project that experience into the future, and it becomes your here and now, and that's where you live. And it is not true. Everybody, please take a deep breath. Release your breath. You just hit the pause button. You took a deep breath, nothing was there, and you hit the pause button. I ask all my clients, do this 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you have a cell phone, set your timer. Because what you learn is to stop and allow yourself to be in the world of nothingness. Because if you're in the here and now, if your mind isn't full of chatter, I call it that tornado, maybe you just need a break. You stop, take a deep breath, and you can live in the world of nothingness for 2 seconds. Do it 3 times a day, and you will learn how to become more present. It's a really good exercise. What we learn as children, we become as adults. My book talks about how to understand your behavior and change it. So in my book, wait to hear about this. Oh, a lot of work went into this. Wait till you hear. I write about the storybook syndrome, which is what my work is based on, that and spirituality. When we grow up, we live in a storybook syndrome. Everybody does, no matter what part of the world you're from. We all learn that the prince carries, I'm not going to tell you what books tell us this, of course, but the prince carries us off into the sunset on a white horse, and we live happily and forever. Right? We also learn our storybook syndrome by what our families teach us, religion, media, culture, depends what part of the country you are born in, what you're going to learn. This makes up our story, and if we do not live in our story, we are wrong. Hate that word, wrong. And what you have to remember is the story that we're living in that was taught to us was taught by someone who learned what their storybook is supposed to be like. So my question to you is start thinking about what is your story, not what you learned, what is your story? And knowing that you're here practicing spirituality, that tells me a lot already. That's kind of a good story as far as I'm concerned. But you really learn how to think for yourself and not do what everyone else tells you to do or what you're supposed to do. Includes money, life, relationships with your children. A lot of parents love projecting their story onto their children. And if their children don't do what they're supposed to do, that word comes, they're wrong. Not good to put on a child. I see people every day that have this issue. We all do. So 18 months ago, which is why I'm holding on to this thing for life. 18 months ago, I was minding my own business. And I woke up, it was a bad day. And I felt that there were knives stabbing me in the head. And I was really sick to my stomach. I was very, very sick. Thank goodness my daughter came home. My young daughter at 17, now she's 19. She found me on the bathroom floor and called 911. I had a ruptured brain aneurysm. They rushed me to the hospital. The surgery was 6 hours long. It's about 19 months now, and I'm still recovering. I mean, I can work and do things like this, but my balance is still not good because it was in the cerebellum, so it's been horrible. And it makes you feel sick to your stomach all the time because when you're really dizzy and you can't move your head or you're going to be sick to your stomach, I mean, it really affects you. And I went through this for a very long time. 2 weeks prior to this, I was next to my daughter in her bed. It was late at night. She needed me. So I went and laid down next to her. I'm very close to my daughter. I adore her. And it happened again. I had these stabbing pains in my head and I was really nauseous, but this time my entire right side went numb. I couldn't feel anything. And now I know what happened, what the doctors told me, that the aneurysm ruptured and created a stroke. And it still haunts me today. I mean, I'm so lucky to be alive. Thank you. But people don't usually live from this. Now, I remember when this happened to me, and this is what I remember, and this is why I know even now more than I knew before how important belief is. I knew that I was not going to die in my daughter's bed, because if I did, you know what that would cause. How do you get over that? You can, but it's tough. And that's my daughter. So what I did is it was crazy. I could feel my body floating. I would never believe this until I experienced it. I was going up. I was out. I was going from this planet. And I remember pulling, and it was so hard, pulling down with all of my might to get my body back into the bed next to my daughter. But what I really remember, it was hard to pull down. It was so hard to pull myself back down. And I call that the will to live. And what I really call it is mother's love, because I was not going to die. So then she fell asleep and I started feeling better. And then I went upstairs with my wonderful husband, who's in the back of the room, my Michael, my saint. And I had to work the next day. I have an office on Abbott Kinney, and I had clients. I don't think I realized what was going on. I had my clients. It's crazy. And I worked like this for 2 weeks, which is, it's unheard of. I should have never lived. They say the rule is like 24 hours. And then the 2 weeks later, of course, my daughter finds me on the floor and the rest is history. So recovery has been brutal, horrible, awful, terrible, frightening. I'm going to claim it. I will never go through this ever again. And you will, and no one else will that I know. It's been horrible. But I had to make a decision. I learned this from my dad. Do I give up and fall into a deep depression? Or do I become what society has told me, when you're sick, you better panic because you're in big trouble? A lot of people just give up. And what I decided to do was say no. I am going to learn from my experience. And like I did the first time around regarding relationships, and when I say relationships for me were very, very, very traumatized. They've come close to ruining my life. Again, not anymore, never. That's why I do what I do, to help people. I had to practice what I teach to my clients. I'm going to say the biggest thing I did really was I trusted in spirit. I really trusted in spirit. And I had to walk the walk because I realized if I couldn't work with my own thoughts, if I couldn't accept where I was and make it okay, and trust in spirit to guide me wherever I was going to end up going, and I didn't know where that was going to be. I mean, I knew I was going to get better because I have no choice. But I also know because I'm realistic. If I don't, then that's my journey this time around. But I had to walk the walk because I cannot help others unless I can do what I've done, what I've experienced. And I remember, the biggest thing I remember, besides trusting in spirit, is when I was in that hospital and able to think for the first time. I knew that the light was at the end of the tunnel. And just because I couldn't see it did not mean that it wasn't there. My mother calls that blind faith. So does my grandmother. I had to learn that, I mean, stupid me, I thought I had learned most of my lessons. I mean, look what I do. I'm educated. I help people. I've been through enough. Fat chance. I had to accept that I had some more lessons. And it's been probably the hardest fight of my life. But I did it. There's a quote by Carl Jung, who is a wonderful psychiatrist. I'm just going to read this. He's a Swiss psychiatrist and psychotherapist, and he founded analytical psychology. Carl Jung's wonderful. His quote is, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become," no matter where you are in life. Like a wonderful singer. Don't forget that quote. So what I use in my life to help people is a combination between spiritual psychology and clinical hypnotherapy. Spirituality, as you know, is raising your consciousness. You're learning how to think differently. You're elevating your consciousness. You all learn that here. Psychology is a study of the mind. How does the mind work and why? Clinical hypnotherapy, which I think is the greatest thing in the world, isn't a stage show where we put you up on the stage and make you think you're a frog. That's not clinical hypnotherapy. Clinical hypnotherapy allows me to change the perception of your subconscious mind. In other words, I help you at a subconscious level reframe your beliefs. You can do that by just reading a million things, right? I help people to end their fear of any kind, even making money. I've had people concerned about how they're going to treat their children. It's all in our head. Now, the example of how hypnotherapy works, because I really want everyone to understand this, because I don't think everybody really, they're thinking about the stage show. Let's say, like when you're young, we all have our birthdays and we go to birthday parties. I took my daughter to 1 million of them. And all the kids are running around and you're really excited. What's the grand finale? The chocolate cake. And let's say that in our conscious mind, we say, I'm not going to eat this cake anymore because the sugar isn't good for me. It's too many calories. I should be eating fruit. Fruit is your friend. Right? In my house, we don't call it fruit. We just say, we need some more fruit as our friend. But the conscious mind wants it. It's like Halloween when you go trick-or-treating. It's fun to get dressed up and go and trick-or-treat and eat all that candy. So the conscious mind says, I don't want it anymore. But here's the thing. The subconscious mind is where our library of associations live. And in that library of associations, we remember the grand finale, the chocolate cake, the candles are lit, everybody sings happy birthday to you. That makes you feel really good. That's a happy little song. And then it's time to blow out the candles and open up the presents. So the subconscious mind says to the conscious mind, are you crazy? Eat that cake. You're gonna feel better. That's it. That's why we play out our patterns and our habits. What we learned in childhood, we become as adults, because even if it's not good stuff, it's comfortable because it's what we know. And that's how the mind works. Unfortunately, that's why children that are abused in a hospital because their parents hurt them, when they're in that hospital and they're scared, you know who they ask for? Their attacker, the parent, because it's what they know. So spiritual psychology is wonderful because we reframe our story. Clinical hypnotherapy is great because what you're doing is you're reframing the subconscious, which rules your life. And when you do that, that's how you're going to bring peace and happiness to your world. And that's why when you have children and grandchildren, you have to be very careful what you say to them, because you're going to be surprised how they remember it. And if they don't consciously, their subconscious will. So because I realized that you can't get better, I was my own guinea pig, until you heal yourself at the subconscious level. You have to go to the root issue of the problem. What really happened? And I'm telling you, a lot of people don't know. A lot of people come to my office, and when they tell me their story, which is a therapy in itself, and then all of a sudden I say, so what you're telling me is they're shocked because they don't understand it because they're too busy living it, the subconscious level. I've written a book called The Soul's Coach, 7 Paths to Healing Your Relationship. And I just want to say, as I wrote this book, it's started it a few months after I got back from the hospital because my husband made me. And I remember taking about 2 hours to psych myself up to get out of bed because I was just so sick. It's like when you get up, you're dizzy. You're going to be throwing up, the last thing you want to do. So I would psych myself up for the day, and I would crawl. We live in a loft, so we have these cool rails, and I would crawl out of my bed and hold on to the rails because I had to get to my computer, my desk. Hopefully not be sick in between then. I would sit at my desk and sometimes only write 1 paragraph. My husband would say, but Rochelle, you wrote 1 paragraph. And I would go back to bed. So when I say this book was really, I had to write it. I mean, it kind of kept me going. And I wrote it for my daughter too, because someday if she ever decides to read my book, you know, I know nothing. I'm just her mother. I know nothing. She may have a few things that she could look at. I felt compelled to write my book and share my story because there was something that needed to be unlocked. And I was forced again by my surgery to deepen my thoughts. When you're sick for 18 months, pretty much 15 doing nothing, you have a lot of thoughts in your head. And you're constantly working these thoughts. Why I'm sick? I mean, it's crazy. So I had to write this book. And through the years, I've worked with a lot of clients. And what I've noticed between my clients and myself, there was a pattern. There was a pattern. And that pattern needed to be put into words so I could better help people. And they would really understand what's going on. And my experience gave me the opportunity to do a lot of thinking and writing. And I found that missing link, the formula that would lead to self-discovery at a very deep level. And it is called the 7 Paths. And I've written this book around romantic relationships because I don't care who you are. relationships, even with your daughter, your son, your dog, your job, your money, it brings out what it is you need to heal. Your relationships of any kind are your mirror. I have a lot of clients, which I'm proud to say, have even reviewed me on Yelp. And every time they do, I call them because I find it such an honor that they would even take the time to do that. So it kind of helps me with my work learn what I could even do better. Nothing can disturb your peace unless you allow it to. It's all in your head. It's all in your head. And I kind of wish children would learn that a little bit faster than they do, because they wouldn't have to grow up suffering like us adults do. Buddhist number one noble truth, life is suffering. It's true. It's true. Not all the time. There's a lot of very good things in life, thank goodness. I think we should spend more time thinking about the good things and not the good things. But we should know how to work our thoughts so we can experience more of the positive in life. So I just want to quickly go over the 7 paths, and some of these might really touch a chord with you. The first one is denial. We live behind our rose-colored glasses. What we don't see won't hurt us. Settling. Oh, this is a big one. We take what we can get so that we don't have to rock the boat and destroy the fictitious world we live in. Number 3 is playing out. What is your behavior trying to tell you? Your behavior is usually your inner child trying to get your attention. Because let's face it, most kids aren't heard. They're never heard. They just grow up doing what they were taught, like little robots. And then when you get older, the behavior plays out. You become upset. You become angry. Word passive aggressive, I hear that all the time. It's because the inner child is trying to say something to you and get your attention. Path 4 is acceptance. Huge. We cannot heal until we accept why we do the things we do, what is happening, and make it okay. That's what just happened to me over the last 18, 19 months. There's nothing I could do to change it, really. I mean, I had the brain surgery, I had to heal, period. Intention. We set our intention to change, but we remain flexible. We have to remain flexible in life because we never know what's going to happen. It's that stuck thinking in a box, which we just heard about in the meditation, which is what gets us in trouble. Spirituality, path 6. We have to take personal responsibility for the way we think. We have to reframe our story by learning to accept, forgive, show compassion, the magic word, and stop judging, another magic word, others, including ourselves. We have to learn our lessons in our life and their meaning. Viktor Frankl would say, he's a psychiatrist. He wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, developed logos therapy. He lived through the concentration camps, 3 years. His whole family, he was in 3 of them. He was in 3 of them. And his family he lost them in these camps. And he learned that when you find the meaning behind your suffering, all of a sudden it's not so bad. If any of you are interested, maybe you've already read the book, Man's Search for Meaning. It's a good book because when you read that, you realize you can do anything you want. If this man can learn to think this way in a concentration camp, we can learn to change our thoughts in this world. It's not hard. The 7th path is probably one of my favorite paths. It's called the new story. We've learned our lessons and the meaning behind them, and now we get to rewrite our new story, which is a wonderful story full of forgiveness and love and compassion, and really talks about who we are. Who are we authentically? There's no more the victim and the sadness. It's all about the light, and you can choose to live in that light. I'm going to say it again. I haven't said this, but I'm actually a miracle standing up here. I wouldn't be surprised if some of you weren't either. But it is possible to live in the light. It is possible to find that true happiness. So some people may not want to read my book, and I have a workbook coming out in 30 days. It's pretty intense, but it's a good one. And if there are people that don't want to read my book, they can pick up the phone and call me and set up an appointment. And I'm saying this because a very close friend of mine that used to be a client said to me, Rochelle, I didn't want to read in the beginning. She only listens to audiobooks, but I still wanted help. So people need to know that you can help them if they don't want to read the book. I'm a stickler. Book's not a bad thing. When you read this book, I think that if you choose to, that there's no way that you're going to read it and not find something about yourself, learn something more about yourself that you can change and find some kind of peace. There's a wonderful quote, and I think you probably know who this is, Wayne Dyer. Anyone heard of Wayne Dyer? Quotes, fear knocked at the door, love answered, and no one was there. I just love that quote. So I'm going to ask if you have any questions, please ask me. There's some cards laid out. I'm offering discovery sessions at no charge for anyone that has a question. In the back of the room, there's a business card, and I have a thing on my site, a link on my site. It's called Free Membership, and you can download it no charge. And there's a meditation called The Stream of Obstacles. And if you listen to it, it's not possible that you don't think somehow you think differently about your world. So my question is, does anybody have any questions for me? Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It could be a tough read. I mean, you're going to read some things that are difficult. I would suggest it. Everybody can benefit. In the beginning, they might be scared, but I think if you're working with the right person and there's some trust going on, it's not hard. It's not hard. Anybody can be hypnotized. And it's not, let me explain, hypnotizing isn't typically where you just like, you're out. It can happen, but most of the time, you just feel very relaxed and very heavy, and it's more of a meditation. So,
for your theory that is because life is suffering, I wouldn't say is a part of you.
no.
And going so far into, like, our answers aren't in the past. It's pulling up the suffering.
Our
and-
actions are not in the past, are you saying?
Our answers.
Our answers.
Our answers. And then we learn here all those wonderful things you said about reframing, writing a new story, living in the joy of the day. And I've had changes in my mind big time of
Yeah.
of my approach to things, that digging up the past and the past pain, I don't feel as valuable as I was taught it was. And I am not sure if it makes sense of
Oh, I can't.
snippets.
Firstly, bless you in your experience. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I love Carl Jung. And when you study spiritual psychology, you study many different therapists. Carl Rogers, Pierre Frucci. There are many to explain. You should be up here right now. My husband has a PhD in philosophy with the emphasis of depth psychology. So, and he loves Carl Jung and Freud. He could talk to you for a long time. So, spiritual psychology, we've mixed. There's so many modalities, and I don't believe in just one. A lot of Buddhism, all right? I think that's the first part of the question. I don't think there is one answer. I think there's so many people, even Mother Teresa, that have taught us so much that you can take all of their work, including all religions, and take all of their experience. And it also depends who you're working with, where you want to pull from. I think that going into the past can be scary. It can be very scary, and it can be triggering. I believe, and what I've seen in my practice, is that when you go, you can't, in my opinion, you cannot heal somebody completely until you go into their past. Why? Because they don't understand why they're doing it. Now, when you go into the past, there's a way, I call it safe work, to do it being safe. And when people get to talk about what happened to them, there's a release that takes place because they're sharing their story. I've had people tell me things they've never told anyone, including other therapists. That alone is this incredible story. And then after they talk about their past, the trick is, and I do this through my learnings, my studying, and clinical hypnotherapist, you take that experience that's scary and you reframe it so it no longer triggers them, right? So you're going back into the past, but you're not doing it in a scary way. You're making sense of it so it doesn't have to be so terrible after all. Does that answer your question?
Great. That's subtle.
But it was a very good question. Anybody else? Did you have a question? My office was on Abbott Kinney, and now it's in Venice Beach. It's in Marina del Rey. And I also pretty much work now by Skype and telephone. It's the trend. It's what people like because they don't want to drive and find the parking and do the whole traffic. So we just do it on Skype. Any other questions? I have answers. In closing, just please remember that your outer reality is a reflection of your inner reality, and we can choose to think however we want. And when you think clearly, your life will be clear. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you.
Woo!
Please welcome back Gina Walker.
Awesome. Why be afraid if you're not alone? Life's not always easy, the rest is unknown. Up to now for me, it's been hands against stone. Each and every moment, searching what to believe. Coming out of the dark, I finally see the light, and it's shining through me. Coming out of the dark, I know the love that saved me lives in me. Why be afraid if you're not alone? Life's not always easy, it's hands against stone. Up till now for me, it's been living out loud. I can see that spirit is always around. Coming out of the dark, I finally see the light, and it's shining through me. Coming out of the dark, I know the love that saved me lives in me. Never Yeah, yeah. Coming out of the dark, I know the love that saved me lives in me.
Gina Walker moved up the spirit. Woo-hoo! Woo!
Thank God. Gino. I think there's a hole in the ceiling somewhere. All right, if I could get the stewards to come forward, please. Whoever you might be. Come on down. Door number 3. This is our time to make our offering, and if today is your time to make your offering, we accept it with love and goodness, kindness. If it's not your time to give today, put some love in the basket. Goes around, comes around. So if you repeat after me, this offering is my acceptance of God, so, and symbolizes the faith, the abundant flow of this supply.
Thank you. We're going to get those kidlets in here.